recording have started, and so we should also be live on LinkedIn. And let me switch between the spreadsheet and Business Central because I'm excited for this live demo. This is a topic that I wanted to talk about for weeks, for months actually. It's one of my favorite topics in Business Central, and so I thought, shall I record a few videos? Shall I make a few videos? Shall I just do a short video series? And then I thought, how about we go live on LinkedIn? After all, you can see I have my streaming software, all open source, by the way. And so let's give it a try. Right, my internet connection seems to be stable, seems to be quite okay. And so let's do it live because I love live interaction. I love live demos. Have you noticed we don't see a lot of live demos these days because live demos are scary, right? We need to make sure that everything is perfect, the configuration is right, the data is right, and so you don't really see that. But seeing a polished demo put together by consultants who spend maybe hours or days getting everything right, it's not the same thing, isn't it, than doing it live. So I want to go through this today with you here live on LinkedIn and share your questions. Let me know in the comments here what you want to see. The topic of today's session is Advanced Warehouse Management System Demystified. When and why enabling directed put-away MPIGs makes sense in Dynamics 365 Business Central, because let's be honest, this is a rather scary configuration, right? And I've noticed that sometimes even consultants don't like to use this configuration. And it's mainly because of knowledge gaps. Only because of knowledge gaps. Because in my almost 12, 13 years of experience in Microsoft, and before as a warehouse and supply chain management consultant, I can tell you that enabling this setup, well, been mandatory here, so there we go. Having this setup where you have all four warehouse activities enabled and leaving this little flag off actually backfires. So there is no benefit, and I'm saying this conscious that I put my reputation here at risk if I get it wrong, because this is a professional web a social media, and I am a Microsoft certified trainer and certified consultant, and I'm here to tell you, and I can 100% guarantee, if you disagree with me, let's talk about it. This setup has no real benefits compared to this one. By the time you want to use everything that Business Central has got to offer in terms of receiving shipments and put away, and you leave this one off, you add complexity without having additional rules and logic that allows you to automate and prepare documents for your team. You are essentially increasing complexity without all the benefits of the additional rules and automation that Business Central has got to offer. So by the time you agree with your client that you need everything on, this will just make everything easier. I'm telling you, it's actually easier to manage a warehouse with that level of complexity when this is on. Now, I'm going to show you an example today, and so chances are we might be live for 45 minutes or an hour, and because I want to show you how it works live. But let's use a good spreadsheet, shall we? Because we consultants love a good spreadsheet, don't we? Like accountants. it makes sense, right? Excel is just the tool. So I prepared a simple representation of a warehouse a racking system. We have a rack and different shelves. Now these in Business Central are our bins, right? And so here I have item A, and item A can be here, and I'm repeat of item A can be here, right? And so this is how I decided to put together a graphical representation of a warehouse. Now, what happens when we have a warehouse as complex as this one? We need warehouse teams, we need logic in a system, rules, setup, configuration, however you might want to call it, that allows me to tell the system that this is the floor, right? This is ground floor. Let's do something like this. Okay, there we go. This is the floor. That this is the storage that I have at eye level, right? Maybe the first, the second, and the third are at eye level, right? And so if this is on high level, there we go. We put it in yellow because this is essentially, there we go. And this is from where we pick, right? Because it's reachable. I can reach it with a forklift, right? Or with the pick and trolley. So this area here of my warehouse racking system is typically called a pick face or picking face, right? Or something like that. Because this is from where I want to pick my items. So what happens to everything which is above reach up to a certain point? Let's say all this area here, and let's use a different color. All right. This is, there we go, this light orange. There we go. This is something which is above pick face, right? But not too high. This is typically my zone in my warehouse where I replenish the item. So this can be, occasionally it can be a pick, because with a counterbalance, I might reach here. But why would I reach here and not here when I pick? And really, why we do what we do in a warehouse drives configuration, not the other way around. This is where most consultants sometimes make the mistake. We might reach here because of two reasons. To pick in bulk, for example, where item A is stored here, but is stored in a pallet. And so if I get an order that I need to fulfill, where I need to get the entire pallet, I might not want to use all the loose boxes, right, that are here. This is item A in boxes. Because what's the point? Right, I've got a full pallet here. Why do I pick from here? So this can be a pick for bulking, right? But it can also be a, let's say, if it works like this, yes. This can be I simply put away because I store items in pallets, right? And if I only pick and sell and ship boxes, when I receive items, when I buy items from a supplier or a vendor, I want them to go straight here. Now, in some organizations might say, well, actually, I want my items to go straight here. Fine. What happens then to your replenishment? Now, if organizations that you work with do not need the kind of replenishment, and they work pretty much on one scenario, which is last in, first out. With last in, first out, there is no replenishment, okay? No stock rotation, which means items are received here in pallets and boxes, and they are consumed from here. Picked from here, pallets and boxes. In that case, no replenishment. You might not need that complexity that comes with directed picks and put away, because directed picks and put away allows you to do this. First in, first out. right? Which means we need to replenish the item. And so now we have the top area of the warehouse where we also have item A in pallet, but from here we don't pick. From here we only put away. And now you can see where the FIFO replenishment, first in, first out, allows you to do this. Day one, I put away. While I pick the old stock, and if I need to pick it in bulk, or if I need to, I can pick it from here. If I need to replenish it, I can replenish from here to here. So on day two, I want to take from here and move this pallet from here to here, right? And there we go, change the color. So I am replenishing storage. On day three, what is it? Day three, I'm doing another replenishment, which means I take the item from here. Maybe I do, there we go, a break bulk. Well, I break the pallet and I put loose boxes here, right? So now this complex replenishment system, which of course can be managed in Business Central with bin movements and internal movements, can be managed in two ways. Do you want, and this is a choice, this is the question that you want to ask your warehouse manager or your supply chain manager, as you, if you are a consultant, you want to have a conversation with your client. Would you rather, and I pause because this is the key question, add in a bit of drama here. Would you rather have the system configured in such a way so that when you have a PO, it tells you to go here. Then it checks if you got enough quantity here, and it tells you what to move from where to where. And it does that with a good degree of automation, where you just run the job and the system tells you, right, take 4 pallets from here, break 2, move half a pallet there, put 3 boxes in pick phase. Would you rather do that? Or would you rather receive everything into a staging area and then have your team decide every time where everything goes? With the downside that the system will anyway pick a place and it will likely pick this. It will likely pick the pick phase, and you need to update and override the system every single time. If the answer is we will rather do the opposite, we will rather work and override the system every single time, by all means, you want to use, you are happy, you're free to use this setup. Because without this put away and pick enabled, what you got, what you don't have, and I'll tell you why, right? What you don't have is the ability to choose let me go, to choose the bin type. The system is telling me bin type code must be equal to blank in this bin in this location. And because I cannot tell the system with this kind of configuration that some bins are putaways, some bins are for bulk in picking, while other bins are for picking only. I can't. And so why would you rather have that kind of scenario? You have that scenario only if you use no replenishment. and stock rotation is not an issue. Now, in some companies, asset-heavy companies, where you have heavy machines or equipment and there's no real stock rotation, they might have some items there as safety stock, but essentially everything moves from into one area or bins, and therefore users decide what to move and when, only when the manager decides. In that case, you don't need to configure the system and set up all those rules, because these movements happens maybe once a week. But if you have that kind of complexity and you need rules about what, where, based on rules, and you need to manage pallets and boxes in a warehouse, then this one will not help you. It will get in the way. It will be more complex, in fact, because you have constantly fight against the system that wants you to place and pick the same item from the same place. So, food companies, 100%, they need it. Because first in, first out, shelf life, lot tracking, it is absolutely essential, right? Stock rotation is essential. Food companies that buy in bulk, break the bulk and maybe use small pieces, boxes or units. Manufacturing items, they buy raw materials in bulk, in pallets, for example, or containers. They break the pallets, they consume the raw materials. Same logic. From where do we get the raw materials? Where do we place the finished item? Manufacturing company, food companies, stock rotation. Absolutely, you do need this. You're not adding complexity, you're letting the system do the job for you. And now, as I wait for your questions, I'm not sure if you're asking because my screen here, I've got a couple of screens. One is not really refreshing. So I can see it on live, but I don't get your questions. So I might actually use my phone. There we go. If I get my phone and you send me a message here, or maybe you send me a direct message on LinkedIn, I can see, there we go, I can see some comments, I can see people online. Excellent. So I'm using my phone so you can add your comments. So let's jump into a demo now because I want to show you exactly what needs to happen. So look at this. Let's look at the bins setup. This is a demo, so I've got a bit of everything, including classes for cold and frozen. But again, I work with lots of food companies and pharmaceutical companies, actually. More pharma than food lately. But it's a separate conversation. But again, pharmaceutical companies have similar challenges, right? Cold chain, traceability, allergens, right? Quality control, cross-contamination, risks. So quality management is quite big. So pharma and food, they have things in common. So here you can see a list of bins for my location that has got everything enabled. The so-called advanced warehousing. It's not really, I don't really like call it advanced or full WMS, directed put away in picks. It actually describes it better. It's directed, which means my users, my team is directed to pick from a certain bin, and they're directed to place items to certain bins, as opposed to not directed. So the system will use a default, but then you need to override it every time. Think about it. The terminology in itself tells me what the feature does. So bins, zones, which are nice, but it's not really important. What's important here is the ranking and the bin type code. Because, and I go back here, this system here, you might argue, actually something that I missed. You might say, well, actually, Fredo, if you use ranking now, right, then of course the system will just pick up, right, the right bin based on the rules that we use on ranking. But the problem with ranking is without directed put away and picks, without bin types, put away, bulk, and pick phase, means that the bin with the highest ranking will always get chosen regardless of the transaction. a receipt and put away will point here. A shipment or a pick will point here. And so last in, first out, no replenishment. Again, you don't need replenishment. You don't care. It's the same bin in and out. By all means, you can use the other configuration. But this configuration allows you to do that. So the bin type code is mandatory here. If I try to eliminate that bin type code, the system tells me, throws me an error. Can't do that. Because again, the bin type is mandatory now that we have directed put away and pick. If you think about it, without knowing what transactions can happen for certain bins, there's no directed put away or picks. It's just a flat list of bins with ranking, right? And so now you can see the bin type determines it's this column L on my spreadsheet, right? And now, in addition to ranking, I can tell the system then what I'm doing here. I'm doing something like this. There we go. So this is only 500, and this is 450, right? And this is 350, and this is 300, and so on. And now for my put away, I can have the same. And now you probably can see what kind of complexity you can manage with this configuration. Because it doesn't matter, I can have multiple bins with the same ranking. It doesn't matter because the system will always choose the right bin based on ranking and the bin type and the unit of measure. The other thing that without directed put away and pick you can't do, because the system will always use the base unit of measure for warehouse management if you don't have directed put away and picks. So this is what is going to happen. Now let's create a new item. I want to start from scratch. So an item that I never used with no transactions and no history, because I want to show you how that works. So there we go. If you can give me the name of a city or a town where we are. I live in London, but I got already a few London thing. Let's see what we can. Cardiff. Do we have anything in Cardiff? Cardiff. Pine desk. Okay, Cardiff, 2 L's, 2 F. Am I misspelling Cardiff? My Welsh friend will be very upset with me. I should know that. Anyway, regardless. So this Pine desk, new product. I don't care about the financials here because also I'm using a US localization where sales tax are not so strict, and it's not so strict. So I can actually manage that without any tax setup. And now that I have this Pine desk set up, and it's all I need to do. The second thing I need to do, let me go back to the spreadsheet, is tell the system where I want this item to be. And I don't need to be very precise. I need a few good rules like pick, face, and storage. But the rest, I can pretty much be flexible. I can do that using put away templates. For a moment, I couldn't recall it. So let's look at setting up the rules, and the rules that I can set up for this new item, for this new location, are in a page which, if you ask my opinion, I think the name is just confusing. It's called Bin Content Creation Worksheet. Now, we all know learning a new system means we need to learn new terminology, right? No warehouse manager I know of who doesn't use Business Central would understand the meaning of bin content creation worksheet, if I say so, right? So maybe quick nudge for the team at Microsoft. Try to align the terminology with warehouse management real terminology. It really helps, particularly through the sales process, because wrong terminology can overwhelm users, and users who are overwhelmed don't buy, right? Or at least the sales process is a lot longer. Anyway, this is how I can start now putting together my my list. So let's see what I can do here. I'm going to choose ranking 4. And you can see W4 from 1 to 5. And 1 is got the highest ranking, and it's both pick, put away and pick. Then I have 5, which is a put away only. And then I need a new pick for a new bin for, let me see, and for a pick face. Actually, why don't we do something else? Shall we create new bins? Let's create new bins. Because if this is a live demo, we must want to do it right. Okay, there we go. I'm going to create new bins. And so I'm going to choose a new zone. This is zone Y. And what I'm going to use the aisle number 1 and 0, 0, 1. And 0, 0, 1, 0, 0, 0, 1 is going to be my pick face. So we start with Y01 is going to be this one. Okay? Good. And it doesn't really matter. It's a operation zone. Again, the zone code is irrelevant unless, of course, we do have a bin type on zone, but rarely recommended. I don't use the warehouse class. I don't want to use capacity because even though it's useful, I don't want to use it now. And so this is going to be 500, right? So I create another bin, which is number 2. And this is also a bin or type a pick, but it's lower in ranking. So I'm going to now go up a bit. And so this one is going to be a put away and pick, which is again, is for my, let me go back here, is for my storage bulk pick. And let's give it a 300, let's give it a 400, right? And I'm going to choose number 4, it's the same, and this is 350. Now, the next one is going to be 5, and this is going to be put away only, right? And this is again, it's going to be 500. And then I'm going to have another put away with 450. Okay. And what do I got here? I got the same bin. It's going to be number 6. Right. So live demo, live configuration. Okay. It's good to know. It's good to see that how it works, because we are building up the configuration from scratch, so you can tell how actually the system works. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to duplicate my tab because I want to keep referencing to this. So let's go back to Business Central. Let's double check my item because I want to do something else with my item. I want to create another unit of measure, right? So item units of measure, and instead of having APs, I should have some length and cubage and weight, but it doesn't matter. This Cardiff Pine Desk can be sold and actually bought in pallets, and each pallet has got 6 desks. All right, that we need to somehow assemble. Right, 2 units of measure. So we, going back to my spreadsheet, we can actually try to replicate something like this. All right, so back to my bin content creation worksheet. All right, and so shall we start with pick phase? This is the first bin, and you can see how ranking and bin type show here by default. Now I have used personalization to show fields on this page. I don't know why, but when you open the bin content creation worksheet for the first time, the most important fields are hidden. And without those fields, you cannot actually create any bin content. So use personalization and ensure that you can see the bin type and the bin ranking at least. Minimum and maximum quantity. The warehouse class is not relevant if you don't use warehouse class codes. But again, if you do, of course, you want to add them. Again, unfortunately, the most critical fields don't appear here by default. So you need to use personalization. Right, so let's look at my Cardiff Pine desk, and you can see by default I got the unit of measure in pieces. Now, if this is my smaller units I can sell that goes on peg face, then I need to use pieces, right? And then I need to tell for capacity planning, warehouse capacity and replenishment. Not capacity planning is for something else, for manufacturing. For capacity and bin replenishment, I need to tell the system how many units this bin can take. And let's say it's 12 pieces. I know I got 6 units in one pallet, so this is equivalent to 2 pallets. A minimum quantity stays 0. Now, minimum quantity here is for replenishment. It tells the system that if this one goes below minimum quantity, then we must replenish it. So, because this is ground level, and you want to make your the life of your warehouse team easy, and you want the system to tell you when it's time to move the item from here to here and from here to here, you do want the minimum quantity to be always the same. So this is the most important pick face bin for this item in this warehouse, and it must always be full at 12. Whenever it goes below 12, I can run a job and Business Central will tell me that it's time to do this replenishment from here to here, or from here to here, if I haven't got anything here, right? Again, all of this is only possible because we have multiple unit of measures and the bin types. Without that, you can't do that, okay? You can't do it. So, going back to my point, if you need first in, first out replenishment, you absolutely need directed put away and pick. Otherwise, you'll end up with lots of complexity and no help, essentially. Remember, with this configuration, we don't use default bins, we use fixed bins. Unfortunately, there's no validation here. So I can actually do this. So this is misleading. This flag can be on or off in this location. It will make no difference. The system will just simply ignore it. Something else that I would like to see in Business Central in the newest version, because that can be confusing. It is confusing, right? So it doesn't work with this configuration. Now, I have the other pick face now for the same item. I'm using F8 to copy the cell above, and this is also can take 12, right? And here it's my decision. Do I want both pig faces always topped up, or can I live with one pig face where if it's empty, it's not really a big deal? Again, warehouse manager who can work here on this table, on this page, frequently to make your warehouse dynamic, right? Minimum and maximum quantities can change. If you work in food, if you work with pharma, in fashion, actually. Well, seasonality is a thing, right? Seasonality changes the warehouse, the layout, not really the layout of the warehouse, right? But some items might just move across the warehouse. And therefore, minimum and maximum quantities will change so that replenishment allows pickers to pick stock as they go in the most efficient way. Remember, this exists so that we can pick and ship customer orders or consumption of raw materials for production in the most efficient way, in the fastest way possible, right? Because warehouse serves sales. So I'd say both big faces are going to be topped up. So what do we need now? We need the bulk, right? I can put away items here, but I can also place them and pick them in bulk. And this is where directed put away and picks. This is what direct and put away and pick allows me to do, which you can't do without. You can't do without. I set up a rule that tells me that in this bulk pick for items that I want to pick and ship in pallets, I don't want to break the pallet. This one should always be topped up. Always a 2. So now the system will see that if I got a customer order for single units, it will send me here. It will send me here first. And then here if it doesn't find enough stock. But if I got a customer order for a full pallet, it will not ask me to go and try to build a pallet from loose boxes. It will send me here. Again, can't do that without the directed put away and pick. It just doesn't work like that. So this is the right setup. Now, what happens with the this one? I'm going to copy exactly that. Okay. And now, lastly, we're going to use our put away only. Put away only means I cannot pick from here. I can only receive items here. It's called put away because we are receiving in a receiving bay, and then we are putting items away here, right? So now maximum quantity again. I cannot fit more than 2 pallets here. Maybe this is one. Let me do something else. There we go. This is a bigger bin. I can fit 4 pallets. And if it's empty because it's a put away, it doesn't matter, right? This is supposed to be empty, right? Until I receive new stock. Because what's the point of storing pallets here? I need them here, right? And eventually I need to do the break bulk and move it here and move them here. So this is the setup for the item, right? So the next thing to do to set these rules and save them in Business Central so that we can start essentially using these rules is to create the bin content. Now, this is also a bit misleading. We're not really creating content in the sense that we're not really putting anything, any physical content in the bins, right? That doesn't happen. But again, we are creating and saving, right, those rules. The system will run a set of validations just to check that I got everything right. And if I go back to my item card now, under related bin content, I can see my rules have been correctly set up and they show here. Now, once we transact the item, once we receive it and we ship it and we move it, maybe we transfer it. Again, consumption of raw materials for production orders is the same concept. We will see the available to take, it will see the quantity, the base unit of measure. You can see the different units of measure here. Again, you can't do that if you don't enable directed put away and pings. There are more fields that are quite useful. Block movements, if you want to block the movement of this particular combination item in this bin. We're not blocking the bin. We're not blocking the item. We say that we block the content of that item into that bin. A damage, right? A problem with that. There are 2 or 3 units of that item in that bin. We block it. But we can pick everything else, right? The quantity, pending on a negative adjustment, the quantity, the pick quantity, which actually I want to show because it's quite important. Pick quantity. You will see that how that works. You can see it's a drill down field that opens the warehouse activity lines. You can see warehouse activity lines. So we can actually see from the item card if I got a pick for that item. Again, positive quantity, adjustment, negative adjustment. There we go. Put away quantity. So we can see actually in real time how that works. Very good. So now let's leave this page open. Let me go back to the other page. And I love using multiple browser windows open here because I can switch between windows. I can see in real time how things work. I'm going to create a new purchase order from here and just a random wide word importers. And I'm going to choose my Cardiff Pine Desk. Let's close the fact box because it gets in the way. I got multiple units of measure right? So a pallet. And now what we're going to do, we're going to purchase and receive 2 pallets, okay? And this one is $1,000 per pallet, okay? So I'm going to release the order, and now I'm going to use a pull fashion. This is my preferred way of working with this setup. I have a warehouse receipt. I am the warehouse manager. I'm in charge of this evening's shift, and I work in the white location, white warehouse. A lorry had just arrived. I get the paperwork, and I need to create a warehouse receipt. Under prepare, I will see the document. There we go. Where do I see the document? Did I miss the location code? Of course I missed the location code. Let me reopen it and let me add the location code white. There we go. And so let me add another one. $1,000. There we go. Now it's better. So back to the warehouse receipt. I'm going to look at warehouse receipts, and now, where is it? There we go. Warehouse receipts. There we go. And now let me find the prepare. There we go. This is my PO. I add the PO lines to my warehouse receipt, and I'm receiving it into the receiving area, the loading bay. I post the receipt, and the system should now direct me and receive the item. And if I did my job right, it would pick one of these items. Ideally, it should pick this one, right? Because it's the put away. Even though both areas have a put away type, the highest ranking should really work in this way, right? And so let me go back to what I got here. There we go. I only got 3 bins that I can use for put aways, but only one has got the highest ranking, right? And this also actually happens to be the one in pieces. So it's a good example. I think I made a mistake and I left this one in pieces. So the system should now direct me and place it in one of these 2, because only here I've got pallets, right? So received, put away created, related, warehouse put away lines, and let's see what I got. I can see number 03. And as I thought, there we go. It found the correct bin based on the ranking. It didn't choose 500 or 5. It chose this one because I'm receiving pallets and no pieces, right? And so all I need to do now, if I want to do the break bulk, that I can, lots of things that I can do now, but really what I want to do, I'm going to register the put away. Okay, so the put away is registered, and let's see, let's close the process. Let's also post the purchase invoice so I can get the actual costs of the item. Not that it matters in this constant text, but again, it's good to keep things clean. So, bin content, refresh, soft refresh, F5. There we go. 2 pallets, equivalent to 12 quantity base, 2 pieces. Quantity available to take, 2. Now, I have bins with 500 ranking, right? And what I have here, I have bins with minimum and maximum quantity. Can I put minimum and maximum quantity here? Personalized, there we go. There we go. I got maximum quantity here. I'm going to show. And I got minimum quantity here, which I also want to show. So now, with the combination of minimum, maximum quantity, and bin types and unit of measure, I can clearly see that this item, as in pallets, is stored here, and being the ranking of this bin in a smaller unit of measure higher then the ranking of this item in a larger unit of measure, I can now trigger a replenishment that includes the break bulk. Because now the system allows me to spread the item across the racking unit, my warehouse, based on that logic, using also, again, break bulk. One thing before we move on, break bulk must be enabled separately, even if you use directed put away in pegs. And break bulk is an option. There we go. You can see I have it on, but you can see you can leave it off. This is an easy one to miss. I've got a client a couple of years who kept refreshing Sandbox using a configuration package. And every time they pushed the new configuration package to create a location card, they always missed this field. And they end up, Alfredo, this break bulk is not working. Check the field. And so it must have happened 3 or 4 times over a few months. Again, easy to miss, particularly when you create locations with a configuration package. Try not to do it, right? Configuration package, upload 500 bins, okay. Created 3 locations, don't use a configuration package because you might end up missing something. So, what do we need to do now that we need to replenish this stock, whether we have picks or not? Let me create a pick, by the way. Sales orders. Not really, I'm not going to create a pick. I'm just going to create a sales order so we can see the demand moving. The demand for this item across the location, across the bins. And you can see how that shows. So I'm going to sell the Cardiff Pine Desk. Let me close this one. There we go. Again, I need to confirm the location. White warehouse, and I'm selling only one desk, and I'm selling at 500 USD, right? So I got enough stock but the item is in pallets, right? And it's clearly, here. And so what we want to do now, we want to trigger the movement between one of these. Let me clear this one because I don't like this pieces for pallets. I will recreate that logic later. Okay, there we go. This should be a put away for pallets, not for pieces. So we have 4 instead of 5, but the logic doesn't change. Okay, so the bin with the highest ranking is empty. It's below minimum quantity and it's in pieces, and I don't have pieces, I have pallets. So what's going to happen here now that I release the order, whether I release it or not, but I'll show you later. I can now trigger the replenishment, and the replenishment can happen through a bin to a movement worksheet. This is where the system automatically calculates what needs to move from where and to where. Something that you got, you could potentially use it in another location without directly put away in picks, but the options are limited because, again, as I said before, you will only you will look at the bin ranking without taking into account the unit of measure. So I'm going to get bin content for my Cardiff Pine Desk. This is the moment of truth. There we go. It tells me to move 2 pallets. Quantity available to move 2 pallets, right? And if I create the movement, and now I look at warehouse movement, I can see, right? It didn't get the destination bin for whatever reason that I need to double check. This is the good thing about going live, doing the session live. But you can see it correctly found that bin 03 it's reached its maximum capacity, and it should have found one of these 2. I wonder if I there is a 0, 1. There we go. Okay, there is something going on in this table, I guess. There we go. Okay, so let me try again, because I want to see that, I want to show you that it actually works. Okay, all movements have been cleared, and I want to go back and do it again. Now, let me see if I miss something on this item or the location, but it should be right. So let me get bin content. Actually, I made a mistake. Instead of choosing bin content, I should have chosen calculate bin replenishment. So that was my bad. Right, so calculate replenishment, not get bin content. Because with get bin content, I need to tell Business Central where the item goes. So that is what I would do with a warehouse without direct put away and pick. But with a location set up with direct put away and pick, I can simply tell the system, go get me what I need to replenish. And if I leave this blank, it will just do it for my entire warehouse, which is really what we're trying to achieve here, right? You want the system to tell you when you need to move from here to here to here, from here to here, or from here to here. You don't want to tell your system every time what to move where. It's essentially, doing what you do in a spreadsheet by using Business Central, right? A very expensive spreadsheet, but you don't really want to use Business Central as a substitute, a very costly spreadsheet, right? So let's get it right. Now we're talking. There we go. Exactly what I wanted. Now, let's pay attention to this, because something rather sophisticated has just happened. And if you are a pre-sales consultant, right, or if your job is to demo Business Central to your clients, demo this. Use this when you talk to a supply chain manager, to a warehouse manager, because this is the moment where a system with strong warehouse management capabilities can actually make you win a deal. And I'm telling you that as someone who has spent many years in a warehouse. Look what the system is doing. It's telling me to move the Cardiff Pine Desk, rightly so, from 03 to 01. Right, from here to here. Okay, perfect, right? It's replenishing pick phase, exactly what I wanted. However, let's pay attention to something. It tells me that I need to move 12 pieces. Well, of course, 12 pieces, right? I need to top up my pick phase so that it gets up to at least the minimum quantity. But it's also telling me to move these 12 pieces from 003. And there are no loose pieces of this item in 003. I've only got 12 pallets. But it doesn't matter, because this is what break bulk is going to do, quantity to move to. The system is it's managing the palletized goods for me. Again, show it to a warehouse manager and it will make the difference between a customer who puts a signature or on a good implementation deal and someone who tells you, thanks, I'll call you back. I'll let you know. You know what happens, right? They never call you back, or they go for a competitor. And rightly so, because you missed an opportunity to show the value of the system. So if I now create my movement, there we go. This is the right movement, warehouse movement. Let's look at this warehouse movement with a break bulk that I can open and close. With the break bulk filter on, I, as a warehouse manager, can see everything I need to know about what's happening in my warehouse. Take 2 pallets of this item from this bin and place 12 pieces in this bin. I am doing replenishment. Now, you can't do that kind of automation without direct put away and pick. What does it mean to take a pallet and to place units? To break the pallet. And these are the break bulk lines that are hidden. But I don't really need to do anything else, right? You need to see what the system is doing. Take 2 pallets, break them. You will end up in the same bin with 12 pieces. Now, take these 12 pieces from here and place them there, here, right? This is the break. This is break bulk in very simple terms, which you see can be hidden, so you don't need to see it. I register the movement now. There we go. Now my peg phase, soft refresh. There we go. 12 units, pieces in peg phase, which means, let me go back to the sales order that I just created. If I create a shipment, and now I create a pig, I see the pig. And now if I look at the pick lines, the system is telling me that it's time to pick the item from peg phase 001, which is this one. And pick quantity. This is the old movement. You can see that I need to refresh. There we go. You see, notice that this was the original movement, warehouse activity lines that I just moved. There we go. One piece on pick, right? Which means available to take 11. So that kind of granularity and that kind of automation and all these rules are rules that you will not get in Business Central if you have this. It doesn't work. So 56 minutes, 1 hour of live demo with a horrible spreadsheet. I should do better with my Excel skills. Look at that. It looks really horrible. But anyway, hopefully you got the idea. With a spreadsheet, which could be formatted better, and the live demo, including a quick mistake I made. This is the beauty about doing it live without prep. You can see what you can do with this rather obscure set of features called direct to put away MPEG or full WMS, which some consultants say, oh, it's just too complex or just too much. Right, it requires so much complexity. You need to learn it. It's actually the opposite. It's complexity, which means it's powerful. And it's powerful, it means that you can do more. And you can do more with a very good degree of automation. So if you need to manage items in multiple units of measure, if you need replenishment, and if you need to move items using a first in, first out kind of fashion, and you need everything the system has got to offer in terms of warehouse management capabilities, you must absolutely, there we go, enable this direct put away MPEGs. Otherwise, you add complexity without the benefits of the additional features. Right, 1 hour, it's quite late in the evening here, so thanks everybody for watching. Please send me your questions. Check my website and subscribe to my email list. I often share training tips and also discounts for my training courses. And if you need to train your team, your consultant team, if you want to upskill your teams or your users or your consultants, drop me a line, because this is what I do. Training and consulting with one goal: upskill your team. We don't do stuff for you, we teach you how to do it. Thank you. Talk to you very soon.